This video explains which most ancient world-famous people originated the Olympic Games. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjeet Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. Now, this is just a fun piece of information I'm providing. According to History.com, the common understanding of the origins of the modern Olympic Games is that they originated in ancient Greece, with the first written record of a foot race in 776 BC. It is generally agreed that the Games had been going on for some time before that date. Hence, they are considered to be about 3,000 years old. The Games reached their peak in the 6th and 5th century BC and had become the most famous of all the Greek festivals. The ancient Olympics were held every 4 years between August 6 and September 19 during a religious festival honoring the Greek god Zeus. The Games were named for their location at Olympia, a sacred site located near the western coast of the Peloponnese Peninsula in southern Greece. Their influence was so great that ancient historians began to mark time by the 4-year increments in between Olympic Games, which were known as the Olympiads. The Games gradually declined in importance as the Romans gained power and influence over Greece. The end of the Games in ancient Greece is attributed to the Christian Roman Emperor Theodosius I, who in 393 AD decreed that all pagan cults and the worship practices associated with them be eliminated. Now, though the ancient Games in Greece are believed to be 3,000 years old, the origin of the Games in ancient Greek myths provide important clues that show that the Olympic Games are actually much older than that, based on my research into ancient history, which is provided in my ancient history book that covers human history from before Noah's flood. The book is titled Satan vs. God, Volume 1, From the Beginning to the Flood. According to the ancient myths, Heracles, or the Roman god Hercules, son of Zeus and the mortal woman Alcmene, founded the Games in honor of his father Zeus. He built the Olympic Stadium and called the Games Olympic based on their location at a sacred site called Olympia in southern Greece. The error in dating the Games about 3,000 years ago is based on the misunderstanding about who Hercules and Zeus really were and when they lived. They are believed to be mythical gods who apparently did their exploits more than 3,000 years ago from their base in Mount Olympus. They were also known as the Olympian gods. In my book, I explain who these mythical gods really were, and they are mentioned in the Bible. In the Bible, before the flood, the activities of only 14 men and women are mentioned. Therefore, these were the most famous people on the earth before the flood. These men and women are Adam, his wife Eve, their sons Cain, and who murdered his righteous brother Abel, then Adam's righteous son Seth. After that, 7 men and women, descendants of Cain, are prominently mentioned in Genesis 4, verses 18 to 25. They are Lamech, his 2 wives Ada and Zillah, and their 4 children Jabal, Jubal, Tubal-Cain, and their sister Naamah. Then 2 righteous people before the flood are mentioned, Enoch and Noah. Out of a population of a few billion people before the flood, the Bible mentions the exploits of only these 14 people. They clearly were the most important and famous people of their time in the earth. Remember, God had to drown all of humanity in a worldwide flood because the activities of all these people were evil, except of course the righteous people, Enoch, Noah, and Seth. Remember, their activities were so evil that the Bible says that all their thoughts were evil all the time. and the world was saturated with violence and bloodshed because of their deeds. The evil Cain and Lamech and his family were engaged in was that they had deified themselves and had forced the people to worship them. They built temples in their own honor, placed their metal idols in those temples, and required that the people worship them. The people did so because they received financial benefits from these individuals. While all of them either died before the flood or in the flood, Neama, the daughter of Lamech, actually survived the flood as the wife of Ham, the son of Noah. Immediately after the flood, she explained her family's history to the tiny human family, explaining how they were worshipped as the Olympian gods and lived in their beautiful capital city on Mount Olympus. That is how the knowledge of these ancient gods have come down to us today as the Greek and Roman myths and the Egyptian myths. Thus, the activities of this world famous family have come down to us in the form of myths besides the brief account in the Bible. These famous people were worshipped as gods. Lamech was worshipped as the Greek god Zeus or the Roman Jupiter. His racially white wife Ada was worshipped as the goddess Hera. His Negro black wife Zillah was worshipped as the goddess Demeter. His son Jabal was worshipped as the most ancient Hercules. His son Jubal as the god Apollo. Tubal-Cain was worshipped as the Roman god Vulcan and the Greek Hephaestus, while his daughter Neama was worshipped as the Greek goddess Athena, who by her Roman name was known as Minerva. In my book, this is how described Lamech or Zeus and Jubal or Hercules' physical activities. Very early in his life, Lamech began to distinguish himself from the rest of his family. He probably grew into a very tall and strong young man. He also built his physical strength through exercise, wrestling, and the martial arts. Myths state that Zeus wrestled Cronus. Cronus was none other than Cain who had deified himself. So Zeus wrestled Cronus for the throne in Olympia, while others say that he held the Olympic Games there, that is in Olympia, in honor of his victory over Cronus. This could simply be an indication that Lamech participated in wrestling as a sport within his extended family members to build up his strength. Later he instituted the games with his son Hercules or Jabal, which later in the time of an important conqueror later, the second Dionysius, but still before the flood, the games became an elaborate affair. This is what I wrote in my book about the activities of Jabal or Hercules. Jabal or Hercules became a cattle raiser under the influence of his mother Ada. He was the first person to have a large cattle operation. He probably pioneered new techniques for cattle raising to make more profits, but his large cattle operation meant that he was required to spend a considerable amount of time outdoors. For this purpose, he invented the tent, a portable dwelling made of poles and animal skins. He probably invented it when the world population could have been only 4 to 5 million total. Now, Jabal's outdoor activities allowed him plenty of time to practice throwing the javelin and shooting arrows very accurately. These would prove to be critical skills in the many wars that lay ahead in his life and his family's life. Because of handling many operational problems with cattle raising, Jabal seems to have become quite a handyman type of problem solver. All these skills would be very useful in fighting wars. As a result of such outdoor life, he also developed incredible physical strength so that he was considered the strongest man of his time. He also increased his physical strength and stamina by wrestling, running, and other sporting activities. He would have chased many a cattle in his work. Myths also mention his swimming to cross the ocean, which indicates that in many areas oceans were shallow at that time. so he crossed the oceans to other lands and islands. The outdoor sports activities led him to become the founder of the Olympic Games in honor of his father Lamech, or the god Zeus, who seems to have been a great wrestler himself and a crack marksman with the javelin. According to the myths, Heracles, excelling as he did in fame, he established the Olympic Games, and that the men of a later period thought that it was the son of Alcmene, the later Heracles after the flood, who had founded the institution of the Olympic Games. Also, as for the Olympic Games, Heracles, being the eldest, matched his brothers as a game in a running race and crowned the winner with a branch of wild olive. Then myths further state the record of victors include Apollo, who outran Hermes and beat Ares at boxing. So it is possible that the original games were founded by Jabal, which agrees with the biblical record that he was the eldest of his brothers, and Lamech after their victory over Cain in their 10-year war. In the first games, probably only the family members participated, or their immediate close members who were part of their armies. But later, more people participated as the population of the world increased. These events probably were a much rudimentary form of the Olympics in the beginning, but after the flood they probably became more elaborate and better organized and improved, just as it has happened in our times. Jabal's brother Jubal, the Apollo of the myths, invented the harp and the flute and was a great and popular musician. He was supported as a professional musician by his rich father and brothers. Lamech's family held musical contests and entertainment programs with plenty of music, singing, and dancing. Tubal-Cain introduced alcoholic beverages and food to the programs. Thus they introduced entertainment in the world with sports, popular music, and drinking. Over time, entertainment, music, eating, and drinking became an important part of the festivities during the Olympic Games. Now, Jubal, though a musician, was no weakling himself. Sometimes he took care of his brother's cattle. Later he participated in the games with his brothers, and as quoted earlier, he outran his brother Hermes and outboxed his brother Ares. Thus the pre-flood Olympic Games probably included athletics, wrestling, archery, javelin throwing, and boxing. Now Cain was killed by Lamech after a 10-year-long war around the year 900 after the creation of Adam, which would be about 5,100 years ago. It's possible the Olympics were instituted soon after by Hercules in honor of his father Zeus to mark his victory in the war over Cain or the god Cronus. Thus, the origin of the most ancient Olympics did not occur 3,000 years ago. The Olympic Games, in fact, originated about 5,100 years ago, before the flood. Mount Olympus was the capital city of Lamech and his family, who had deified themselves and were worshipped as the Olympian gods. The Olympic Games are named after this famous world pre-flood family and their capital city, Mount Olympus. Now you know the fascinating story behind the most ancient origin of the Olympics. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and read my articles on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please follow me also on my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjeet Saini, to get information on the latest postings of articles and videos.